up, guys? This is CJ, and we are back for another episode review of The Real Housewives of Potomac. And today we'll be talking about season 5, episode 6, The Text Heard Around the Lake House. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, this episode picks up where it left off last week with Wendy and Ashley going back and forth to one another at the dinner table. And they've drawn the other ladies in at this point, so everybody is just yelling and arguing, and chitter chatter is just all around, just absolute pandemonium. And in this argument, Wendy calls Ashley a bitch, a fake bitch, I believe. And Karen, in her confessional, tries to say that in the 5 years that she has known these ladies, that she has never stooped so low as to call one of them a bitch. Well, y'all know production, and production quickly rolled the cameras back and showed the episode where Karen called Robin a bitch. So she just wants to have a reason to say something about Wendy for whatever reason. But it's obvious that the two of them have some issues that they need to iron out for whatever reason. So nothing is resolved at this point. The ladies end up going back to their respective lake houses or their respective places that they're going to sleep. And you see Robin and Giselle being big ass kids, jumping up and down, disrespecting Monique's furniture, jumping up and down on these beds like they're 7-year-olds. I didn't understand that, and I'm sure they would have had a fit if somebody's overgrown behind was jumping up on their furniture, but that's another story for another day. And then we see Wendy and Candace, who are bunkmates at the lake house, and basically Candace feels like Wendy's clapbacks were slightly cringeworthy just because they were so strong, but Wendy feels like she was not wrong, and she doesn't apologize for how she felt because she felt the need to say everything that she said. So then we go to the next morning, and the girls are having breakfast. Well, they decide that Monique and Giselle will have a pancake cook-off, and the girls will be the judge to determine the winner. So Giselle's making her pancakes, and they are certainly not the prettiest, but she says the presentation doesn't matter in this case. How they taste means everything. And you see Monique's pancakes are a little more on the prettier side, and Candace uses this opportunity in her confessional to kind of shade the ladies. Well, she uses their pancakes to describe metaphorically how each woman is. She says that Giselle's pancakes don't necessarily look the best on the outside, but inside that they're really good. And Monique, she says that they're aesthetically pretty, but on the inside they're trash, basically. So she was shading. It was like shade to both ladies, but I think she really meant to kind of kick Monique in the gut just because she is not featuring Monique right now. And so they make the pancakes, and Giselle's pancakes score low in presentation, but they score high in taste. And Monique's were the opposite. They scored high in presentation, but not as high in taste. Well, when they tallied the scores, Monique still won, so she won the contest. Now, and then Robin, I need to say, Robin, she was riding for Giselle's pancakes. She felt they should have won, as I would have expected her to. And Karen says that Giselle's pancakes taste like doo-doo. Not that she knows what doo-doo tastes like, but she was going to use this opportunity to shade Giselle, as always. So then we see Giselle and Wendy going for a walk. Now, Giselle says that she really liked Wendy because they're sorors, and she has heard good things about her, but she wasn't quite sure how she would feel about her going forward after what happened last night. So the two of them got together and they were walking and talking, and Giselle tells Wendy that she feels like Wendy's anger was misdirected and that it should have been directed to Karen instead of Ashley, because Karen was the one saying that all Wendy is just a freelance journalist for CNN, and basically she was discounting Wendy's accomplishments when we all know that Wendy is a very accomplished woman. She's a doctor, so we cannot take anything away from her. And she, was kind of taken aback because she didn't know that Karen felt that way. And I was kind of hoping that she would have addressed that situation, because it seems like Giselle wants her to come at Karen, because she keeps putting in people's ears. Like she told Karen, well, Wendy said this about you, and then she tells Wendy, well, Karen said this about you. So she's trying to do her puppet master thing that she always does, but the women don't seem to be taking the bait just yet. And so I'm kind of waiting for an explosion to come where Giselle is the mastermind behind it, but we'll see as the season progresses if anything will happen. Now, the girls get in a golf cart because at this point they're gonna do an activity for the day. They jump in the golf cart and they go down to the lake where they're gonna go fishing. Now, most of these girls have not gone fishing, nor have they had the desire to. They don't know how to put the worm on the hook. They don't know much about fishing at all. So you had Karen, Giselle, Ashley, and Wendy who decided to stay back and stay at the dock. And you had Monique, Robin, and Candace who all decided to go out in canoes and fish on the water. They were wanting to be a little more adventurous. So while they were sitting on the dock, Wendy and Ashley took this opportunity to address one another, to apologize for one another's actions the night before. Wendy does say that her delivery was a little strong and wrong, and Ashley apologizes for the things that she said, and so that made it easier for Wendy to apologize to her. So for now, their beef is squashed and they're okay. Now, we then later, once again, see Giselle complaining because nobody can really get good reception out at this lake house just because of where it is. It's in the middle of nowhere, as they say. And so Ashley's able to call Michael, and she and the baby Dean are FaceTiming him, and he tells her that he went out on a boys' night out and they went to the MGM and they had a good time, had dinner and whatnot, and just basically had a boys' night out. And she also lets us know in her confessional, because one of the producers asked her, how does Michael feel about, does he feel like he's second now that baby Dean is here? And she says yes, and he hates it. So she thinks that there is a little resentment there because she has the baby now and she covets this baby, and she puts so much into motherhood that she is, I guess, neglecting her wifely duties. I'm not sure, but that's what she said. Michael, he hates the fact that she puts so much into baby Dean and not into their marriage. Now we see Karen, who calls Ray, and Ray is just not thrilled about hearing from her yet again. He wasn't thrilled about hearing from her earlier when she called them yesterday when they made it to the cabin, or the lake house, I'm sorry. And he was golfing, and it almost seemed like she was interrupting him or disturbing him. So their conversation was over just like that. Giselle was complaining because she couldn't call her boyfriend nor her family just because she just does not get reception there at all. Now, the girls are sitting outside and they kind of point out to Candace that she's the only non-mom there. And Candace reiterates again that she is afraid of becoming a mom because she sees that Ashley loves motherhood, but Ashley is struggling and she still has her issues that she grew up with her parents. So she is really, really iffy about having a child. But I think deep down, Candace does want children, but she's just going to have to work past her reservations that she has internally and just do it. And I mean, you just got to work them out as you go along, as with any parent. Now, at this point, the lake house seems to be getting very stale. The ladies are bored. They are ready to go. Nobody is talking. They're just eating in silence. And this was supposed to be, you know, an action-packed trip where the women have tons of things to do. They talk, they get to know one another, but it just is not happening. So Giselle comes up with a good idea about throwing a pageant because we have Ashley on one side, who is a former beauty pageant contestant, and we also have Candace on this side, who was also a former beauty pageant contestant. So they get together and they throw this makeshift pageant together. Now, Giselle, and I kind of took offense to one of the questions, and I'll get there in a second, but she asked Candace her first question about how does it feel to be so short, and Candace gives some answer, and then she asks Ashley, how does it feel to have such a big forehead? Now, as we can see, my forehead is not small, so I was like, I know she didn't, but they all took it in good fun. Everybody laughed about it. Ashley gave a good answer, and so did Candace. They both gave good answers about one another. And then for their talent, Ashley entertained the girls with a twerk. And this was a sad attempt at a twerk. I'm not any kind of twerk queen, twerk master myself, but that struggle twerk that Ashley did, it could have definitely used some work. And it might have been because her booty hole is torn that she couldn't really get into it the way she wanted to. I'm not sure. But we have Candace on the other side who sang Happy Birthday again. And they go back and they show the numerous times that Candace has sang Happy Birthday on the show, which is obviously a lot. So that the talent portion is over. The ladies end up deciding that Candace wins the pageant. Candace was the lake house beauty, or whatever they called it, the beauty at the lake house something, I'm not sure, but she won. So then they decide, okay, let's go ahead and get our naps or whatever we're gonna do. We'll get dressed later and we'll go out for dinner. So they nap, I suppose, and we then see Candace. Candace is getting ready to go meet the ladies because they're going to get ready to leave, and she receives a text. And the text is from one of her good friends who happened to be at the club that Michael was at the night before, and Michael was wilding. She says Michael was with several strippers. Michael was trying to get random women to come back to his hotel room with him. And Michael was even telling people that he had both a boyfriend and a wife. So she was just completely blown away by this information. And of all the people that she could have shared this information with, she goes and she shares it with Giselle, which I understand that you're still trying to get back in Gizelle's good graces. But I probably would not have shared that information with her. I may have shared it with Karen, if anybody, or even with Wendy, because Wendy doesn't strike me as the type that would say anything, but I don't know. We don't really know much about Wendy, but definitely Karen. I would have said something to Karen as opposed to Gizelle, but she, like I said, is trying to get back in her good graces. So she pulls her to the side and tells her, and Gizelle is like, well, man, let's process this information first. And she wants to figure out a way for them to tell Ashley about Michael's scandalous behavior, but they can't think of a way at that immediate moment. So then they go out to dinner. They show the ladies arriving at this crab house, Captain Bill's crab house, I believe the name was. And they are, overly dressed just by looking at the crowd that was already there. So, of course, everybody sees this group of beautiful women, and then they see camera crews behind them. So naturally, everybody's like, who is that? They're trying to figure out what's going on. So they go out to a table on the pier, and it's a really nice setting. And so they're all sitting there, and they're just having random chitter chatter. And who was it? I think it was Monique. She and Robin were kind of relating to one another about how they do so much around the house. They take care of the family and everything. And the husbands or the men in their lives, they don't bother to help. So they both kind of felt each other in that sense. Nobody else really had anything to say about it. But Wendy, somehow, she talks about Karen. Now, Wendy doesn't think that Karen is a bad person, but she does think that Karen is phony because Karen made a comment about Ray. But everybody on the outside can really see that Ray is not really feeling Karen like he was in previous seasons. And it's quite obvious, but Karen is still putting on for them like nothing is wrong. But Wendy kind of sees her, and Wendy knows that Karen is not a horrible person, but she does feel like there is some fakeness there. But like I said, they need to get together and have that dinner that they agreed to have and talk so they can figure out what's up with one another. Now, we then get to Ashley, and Ashley is saying that, Michael was enjoying himself last night. He got a chance to go out on a boys' night. They went to the MGM, had dinner and drank, and were able to, kind of blow off steam and have fun. And that led into Candace getting ready to, I suppose, tell her about the information that she received. But we don't see that in this episode. We'll find out next episode. And that's pretty much it. I didn't have a whole lot. This episode didn't give us a ton. It almost seemed filler-ish to me because we didn't get to the text until the end of the episode. But if there is anything that I forgot, y'all know, leave it in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel so that you'll be here for all the other videos that I put out. And I thank you guys so much for hanging out with me this afternoon, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.